Stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you could completely change how you understand your rights as a dual citizen in the United States. My name is Joe from US Visa Path, and today we're going to talk about something that's been circulating online, causing massive confusion and honestly a lot of unnecessary panic among millions of people who hold two passports. I've seen the videos, I've read the comments, and I know a lot of you are worried about new dual citizenship laws supposedly taking effect in February 2026. So here's what I'm going to do for you today. I'm going to break down exactly what's true, what's complete misinformation, and most importantly, what you actually need to do to protect yourself and your family. This is not about scaring you. This is about giving you the facts so you can make informed decisions with confidence. Let's get into it. So here's the situation. There have been claims online that the US government is implementing brand new dual citizenship registration requirements starting February 1st, 2026, and that if you don't comply within 6 months, you could face fines of up to $5,000, passport renewal problems, and serious immigration consequences. Now, I want to be very clear with you right from the start. As of today, February 3rd, 2026, there is no federal law, no Department of Homeland Security policy, no USCIS directive, and no official government announcement requiring U.S. citizens to register their dual citizenship status. I've checked the Federal Register. I've reviewed USCIS policy manuals. I've gone through Department of State guidance. Nothing like this exists. So why are people talking about it? Because misinformation spreads fast, especially when it sounds official and includes specific dates and dollar amounts. But here's what you need to understand. The United States has always recognized dual citizenship. You are allowed to be a U.S. citizen and hold citizenship in another country at the same time. There is no registration system. There is no database where you're required to report your other nationality. That has never been the law, and it is not the law today. Now let me be very clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying immigration policies never change. They do. I'm not saying the government doesn't care about dual citizenship. They do care in specific contexts, which I'll explain in a moment. What I am saying is that as of right now, there is no new mandatory registration requirement, no February 2026 deadline, and no $5,000 fine for dual citizens who don't report their status. If that changes, if Congress passes a law, if USCIS issues a policy directive, if the Department of Homeland Security makes an official announcement, I will be the first person to tell you about it right here on US Visa Path. But we deal in facts, not fear. So let's talk about what is actually true when it comes to dual citizenship and US immigration law, because there are some important things you do need to know. First, while the US allows dual citizenship, it doesn't formally encourage it. The oath of allegiance you take when you naturalize includes language about renouncing allegiance to foreign states. However, the U.S. government recognizes that many countries do not allow their citizens to renounce citizenship, and that's why dual citizenship is permitted in practice. Second, there are specific situations where your dual citizenship can and will be reviewed by immigration authorities. If you're applying for a security clearance, certain government jobs, or positions of public trust, you may be asked about your foreign citizenship and whether you've used a foreign passport. If you're renewing your U.S. passport and you check yes when asked if you've been issued a passport by another country, that's noted in your file. If you're going through customs and border protection and you present a foreign passport along with your U.S. passport, that's recorded. If you're sponsoring a family member for a green card or naturalization, USCIS may ask about your ties to other countries. These are all normal parts of the immigration process. They've been around for decades. They're not new. But here's what I want you to understand. The government does not proactively track every dual citizen. There is no central registry. You are not required to notify USCIS every time you travel or use a foreign passport. You are not breaking any law by holding two passports. What matters is that when you are asked about your citizenship status in an official context, you answer honestly. That's it. Let me give you some real-world scenarios so you can see how this actually works in practice. Meet Maria. She was born in the United States to Mexican parents. She has U.S. citizenship by birth and Mexican citizenship through her parents. She's held both passports her entire life. She travels to Mexico frequently to visit family, sometimes using her U.S. passport, sometimes her Mexican passport depending on convenience. Is Maria doing anything wrong? No. Does she need to register anywhere? No. Should she be honest if asked by a border officer which passports she holds? Absolutely. That's the extent of it. Now meet Ahmed. He naturalized as a U.S. citizen 5 years ago. He still holds his Pakistani passport because Pakistan allows dual citizenship and he wants to visit family without needing a visa. When he renewed his U.S. passport last year, he was asked if he holds any other nationality. He said yes and provided his Pakistani passport number. That information is now in his passport file. Is that a problem? No. Is he required to do anything else? No. As long as he enters and exits the United States on his U.S. passport, which is the legal requirement, he's fully compliant. And finally, meet Jennifer. She married a Canadian citizen and lived in Canada for 10 years. She obtained Canadian citizenship but never informed USCIS because there was no requirement to do so. She recently moved back to the United States and is now living and working here as a U.S. citizen. Does she need to tell anyone she's also Canadian? Not unless she's asked in an official process like a security clearance application or a passport renewal. Is she at risk? Not at all. These are the realities of dual citizenship in the United States. It's normal, it's legal, and it doesn't require constant reporting. Now let's talk about what you should actually be paying attention to if you're a dual citizen, because there are some real responsibilities and some common mistakes that can cause serious problems. Number 1. If you're a U.S. citizen, you must enter and exit the United States using your U.S. passport. This is federal law. You cannot enter the U.S. on a foreign passport, even if you hold U.S. citizenship. If you do, you could face questioning, delays, and in extreme cases, accusations of misrepresentation. Always show your U.S. passport to U.S. border officers. Number 2. If you're applying for a U.S. passport and you're asked whether you hold citizenship in another country, answer truthfully. Do not lie on a passport application. That is a federal offense. If you hold another passport, say so. Provide the information requested. It will not hurt you. Lying will. Number 3. If you're working for the U.S. government or applying for a security clearance, you will be asked detailed questions about your foreign citizenship, foreign contacts, foreign travel, and foreign financial interests. This is normal. Be thorough. Be honest. Dual citizenship is not automatically disqualifying, but dishonesty is. Number 4. If you're sponsoring someone for immigration benefits, USCIS may ask about your ties to other countries to assess the bona fides of your petition. For example, if you're sponsoring a spouse and you've spent most of the last 5 years living abroad, they may question your intent to live in the United States. Having dual citizenship is fine. Having strong ties abroad is fine. Just be prepared to show that you have genuine ties to the U.S. as well. Number 5. Understand that some countries do not allow dual citizenship. If you naturalize as a U.S. citizen and your home country requires you to renounce your original citizenship, that's a matter between you and that country. The U.S. will not enforce it. But you should know what your other country's laws are, so you're not caught off guard. Now let's talk about travel, because this is where I see a lot of confusion and where people sometimes make mistakes without realizing it. If you hold 2 passports, it is perfectly legal to use your non-U.S. passport when traveling to certain countries, especially if it makes entry easier or visa-free. For example, if you're a U.S. and EU citizen, you might use your EU passport to enter Europe and your U.S. passport to return to the United States. That's fine. But here's the key. You must always use your U.S. passport when entering or leaving the United States. You must also be aware that some countries track entry and exit, and if there's a discrepancy, it could raise questions. For instance, if you entered a country on passport A but exited on passport B, immigration authorities might notice and ask why. This isn't illegal, but you should be ready to explain. The other thing to know is that Customs and Border Protection does have access to databases that track international travel. If you leave the U.S. on your U.S. passport and enter another country on a different passport, CBP may not see that second entry, but they will see that you left the U.S. and when you returned. If you're gone for a long time or traveling frequently, they may ask about your trips. Again, this is normal. Just be truthful. Now I want to address something that causes a lot of anxiety, especially for people who naturalized but kept their original citizenship. Some of you are worried that holding dual citizenship could somehow jeopardize your U.S. citizenship or lead to denaturalization. Let me put your mind at ease. The U.S. government cannot take away your citizenship simply because you hold another nationality. Denaturalization is extremely rare and only happens in cases of fraud, misrepresentation, or illegal procurement of citizenship. If you obtained your U.S. citizenship lawfully, answered all questions truthfully, met all requirements, and took the oath of allegiance, your citizenship is secure. Holding a second passport does not change that. Using a foreign passport does not change that. Living abroad for a period of time does not change that. What could cause problems is if you lied during your naturalization process, if you concealed material facts, or if you engaged in activities that are incompatible with U.S. citizenship, such as serving in a foreign military in a hostile capacity, or swearing allegiance to a foreign government in a way that conflicts with your U.S. oath. But simply being a dual citizen? Not a problem. So here's what I want you to do right now if you're a dual citizen or thinking about becoming one. First, know your rights. Dual citizenship is legal. You do not need to hide it. You do not need to register it. You just need to be honest when asked. Second, keep your documentation organized. If you hold two passports, keep them both current. Know when they expire. Know which one to use when. Store copies in a safe place. Third, if you're applying for any immigration benefit, whether it's a passport renewal, a green card for a family member, or citizenship for your child, be truthful about your foreign ties. Don't volunteer unnecessary information, but don't lie. Fourth, if you're planning to travel internationally and you hold multiple passports, plan ahead. Make sure you know which passport to show at which border. Make sure your travel history is consistent. And make sure you're always using your U.S. passport to come home. Fifth, if you have children who were born abroad or who may have acquired citizenship in another country automatically through you or your spouse, understand their status. They may be dual citizens, even if you never applied for their foreign passport. That's not a problem, but you should know so you can make informed decisions about their travel and documentation. And finally, if you're ever unsure about anything, consult a licensed immigration attorney. Don't rely on social media. Don't rely on rumors. And don't rely on videos that make big claims without citing official sources. I'm Joe from US Visa Path, and I'm here to give you accurate information, but I'm not your lawyer. Every case is different, and you deserve advice tailored to your specific situation. Let me also say this. I know there's a lot of noise out there right now. I know it's easy to see a headline or a video and think the sky is falling. I know that when you've worked so hard to build a life in the United States, any hint of new rules or new requirements can feel terrifying. But here's the truth. The immigration system is complex, but it's not a trap. If you follow the rules, if you're honest, and if you stay informed, you're going to be fine. Dual citizenship is not a liability. It's a privilege. It means you have ties to more than one country. It means you have options. It means you're part of a globalized world where people cross borders, build families, and create lives that span continents. The U.S. government knows this. They're not trying to punish you for it. What they do care about is security, transparency, and making sure that people who hold U.S. citizenship are genuinely committed to this country. And you can be committed to the United States while also loving and maintaining ties to your country of origin. Those two things are not mutually exclusive, so don't let fear control you. Don't make decisions based on rumors. And don't think you need to give up one passport to protect the other unless you have a specific legal reason to do so. Before I wrap up, I want to leave you with a few key takeaways. 1. There is no new federal requirement to register dual citizenship as of today. 2. Dual citizenship is legal and recognized by the United States. 3. You must use your U.S. passport to enter and exit the U.S. 4. Be honest on all government forms and applications. 5. Consult an immigration attorney if you have specific concerns about your status. And 6, stay informed by checking official sources like uscis.gov, travel.state.gov, and the Federal Register. Don't rely on social media for legal information. Now, I also want to remind you that nothing I've said in this video constitutes legal advice. Immigration law is constantly evolving. Policies can change. New rules can be announced at any time. What I've shared with you today is based on current law and policy as of February 2026, but you must verify everything on official government websites and consult with a licensed immigration attorney for advice specific to your situation. I'm here to educate, inform, and empower you, but I'm not here to replace professional legal counsel. That's everything you need to know today, my friend. If this video helped you cut through the noise and understand the truth about dual citizenship, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment below, and let me know where you're watching from and whether you hold dual citizenship. I read every single comment, and most importantly, subscribe to US Visa Path and ring that bell because I drop new videos every single week to keep you informed, protected, and one step ahead. I'm Joe from US Visa Path, and I've got your back until you're standing on US soil. See you in the next one.